Okay, so I am here with Maciej and DJ, who have generated how much, by the way?
40 million and counting in online revenue.
Got it. So when you say $40 million, can you like break that down? Like, where's that $40 million come from?
Yeah, so the 40 million in revenue, bro, it comes from, of course, helping people sell more courses, coaching programs, and of course the consultant services, as well as even the masterminds. And we do this through front end to back end, like the monetization. Mm-hmm. So front end, of course, getting the customer, conversion mechanism, converting the customer, and then back end infrastructure to like recoup all the lost buyers, and of course ascending them into higher ticket.
Got it. So where is like, say, a course creator coach, whoever they are, where are they typically when you take them on as a client?
Yeah, so on most occasions, we look for one key qualifier, honestly, bro. We just have, of course, that they've got a clear offer that serves a starving market and actually provides like a dream outcome. And of course, we also look for like the client's story themselves. When the client story is established, it kind of gives us like marketing ammo.
So give me an example, like what's one of the biggest clients you guys have worked with?
Do we name drop?
It's your guys' choice, it's your clients.
Yeah, I mean, like we typically look for clients, of course, with clear like rags to riches kind of stories.
Okay.
Like by rags to riches, I of course mean they were before in a situation.
But I mean, like what industries typically are they in? Like, is it like make money online? It sounds like any other industries as well.
Make money online. We've of course dabbled into fitness and health and things of that realm. But our golden niche is like MMO. You know. Okay. But like, of course, not your everyday MMO. Like we work with kind of some lucrative MMOs as well.
Yeah.
Like that actually teach like sophisticated-esque like business ventures as well.
Got it. How long have you guys been doing this?
So we started this new agency together. Like, bro, how long has it actually been?
We were both running kind of separate agencies, and we joined agencies about 3 months ago. So literally like 90 days, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. And like how many clients do you guys have now?
Right now we have 7 partners.
Got it. So like, there's gonna be like coaches watching this. What do you guys actually do? I know you do marketing. I know you mentioned like front end to back end, but what does like the day to day look like when you're working with a client? What are you guys actually doing for them typically?
I'd say we're converting traffic. Like we definitely run traffic for clients as well. So like paid media, like Facebook ads, etc. But I think like the main service we provide is just converting that traffic through like funnels, back end sales systems, stuff like that.
What's the typical like way of converting?
Our main vehicle is like webinar funnels, challenge funnels. It's like the 2 kind of core vehicles that are pretty similar, and then we run low ticket funnels as well. So
people watching this have probably heard of webinars and stuff. Like they've tried webinars not working. Let's dive into that. Okay, so webinars. When you start with a client, say they don't have a webinar, how do you get started with creating the webinar, launching it, getting traffic to it?
Good question. Yeah, I'd say first step is like really just diving deep into the client's business, like understanding their offer really well, understanding their story, walking them through like a, in-depth onboarding where we just get a super detailed understanding of like, their market. That's obviously number one, their offer, their story, who they're trying to target essentially. And then we can take all that ammunition, and then we can turn it, since if we already have a clear offer, we can essentially turn that into a longer form sales presentation that they can then present live.
Got it. Okay. And you do it for cold traffic. You do like paid ads to.
We do both. A lot of our clients actually have like pretty big personal brands. So like they'll start out and they'll already have an audience that either they are monetizing or they kind of want to monetize, and then we can take some of those eyeballs and we can build a webinar, drive that traffic to a webinar. Test out the sales presentation on organic, get some proof of concept, get some sales through the door, and then typically we'll immediately diversify into paid traffic.
And as like the personal brand creator, literally I just have to do the webinar, and you guys basically do essentially you guys are doing everything around me doing the webinar basically.
Yeah, like there's literally we have a couple like referral partners that we have, like a traffic partner he's really good at like Instagram organic, for example. So he'll work with some of our clients on like their Instagram, and he'll help them build their followings. And then we're essentially, the entire marketing infrastructure who can take those eyeballs and then convert them into sales. And then a lot of the times we're selling like a DIY offer, which is do it yourself, which involves no sales team. So it's literally just an offer that they can sell directly on the webinar. And then if they want to sell high ticket, typically they'll have either their own sales team, or we also have like another partner who kind of handles the sales system. Not really partner, but just kind of like, a separate agency.
So there's like a whole team there like behind it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You want to speak on that?
It's like essentially like the Avengers team. Like when you kind of look at, there's the Avengers team. Like when you look at, of course, like any successful online course, coaching or consulting business, all avenues are taken care of.
Yeah.
You've got the front end with traffic, conversion mechanism with some sort of highly converting funnel, and of course the back end with the sales systems. And once all three are established, that's like a very successful info brand. Of course, with a good offer, a good story, and like actually being hungry to scale.
And you guys have scaled clients to like millions of dollars a month. And I mean, I've been involved in some of that process, some old clients we used to have scaling. Like, what do you guys think is the main infrastructure someone needs to get to $1 million a month in terms of team? Because it's hard to do it yourself. You need like people in place, marketers most of the time.
I mean, it kind of what I mentioned about them 3 buckets is like if you have the traffic mechanism taken care of with a guy or a team who manages traffic, then you've got the conversion mechanism team who does all the funnels and set up these funnels, etc. And then you've got the sales system. Them 3 buckets are kind of taken care of, meaning that you can essentially have 3 solidified agencies that specialize in each department. If that makes sense.
Or it can be in-house. Like you can build really good in-house sales teams. You can build theoretically a really good in-house marketing team. I think that's actually harder to do. I don't know if you guys heard me, but yeah, you can build those in-house as well. To put it shortly.
Would you recommend someone go in-house like right away or no?
I think it depends on your goals. I think it's significantly harder to build a world-class in-house team.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you're gonna get, for example, a world-class copywriter or a world-class sales manager or a world-class traffic guy that runs paid media.
Marketers in general.
Marketers, sales reps, I mean, sales reps is different, but maybe sales managers who've built businesses before. That's expensive, man. You have to pay a CMO who, hundreds of thousands of dollars most likely.
Yeah.
To get to that, high level, whereas you can work with an agency that's working with multiple clients, has the systems in place, knows what they're doing, and can essentially just plug into your business and then, fill
and
that
if they're
piece.
really about it, unless you're really incentivizing them, they're gonna want other clients. They're gonna want to like have a portfolio,
Yeah, I think especially in today, like just the way that the whole freelancing thing is. Like for example, most marketers, copywriters, they either run an agency themselves or they're simply freelancing and they have multiple clients if they're good, because if they are good, then they can land clients, they can get paid more.
So what I want to do is like you guys have scaled. How many clients past $1 million a month since starting? Like, is it 1 right now or is it more?
Together.
Obviously, there was beforehand scaled others, but with. Like I think recently it's been 1, right?
So recently, since our agencies have of course like kind of forged, it's been 1 big name, but we're looking at like a very successful Q4 as well.
Okay.
In total, of course, like a few more names.
So I think people watching this video like want to really break down, reverse engineer how that even happened. I mean, how many months did it take to get this person to $1 million a month? We won't reveal their name. Like it's confidential.
2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
So what were they doing before?
I mean, previously they were doing like 150, 200.
Wow.
So we kind of took them, of course, from like 200 to like $1 million. Maybe they were making like slightly more beforehand. But because, of course, we introduced like a Grand Slam challenge funnel, which pulled the conversions up a bunch. We also done like 1 Grand Slam webinar, which pulled in like over like 100K in like revenue as well. And that kind of adds to the fuel. Of course, the conversion mechanism is one process. Because we've done the funnels and the challenges and the webinar funnels, but then of course the sales team are responsible for that. The traffic guys are responsible for like nurturing leads. So it's like an entire ecosystem.
That's a weird killer team, man. You can scale so fast. What was the main shift they went from 250 to like $1 million a month, do you think? In terms of like team, but then what you implemented from where he was before to where he got to?
Of course, bro, it's the 1 conversion mechanism with like the challenge and the webinar funnel, but also, bro, just like sales systems, bro. Like the sales team that was responsible for this 1 client, bro, they were like crazy as hell.
By the way, people watching this might wonder, what is a challenge funnel? Can you just explain that real quick?
A challenge funnel is essentially what DJ mentioned with the live event, but instead of 1 day, it's kind of like a 3-day live event.
Yeah.
So like 1 day, you can have 1 key teaching. Day 2, you have another key teaching, and then day 3, you have the final day teaching. Of course, you can do like 3-day challenges, 4-day challenges, 5-day challenges. We've kind of seen the golden spot with 3, mainly because of course 5-day, like you kind of have like drop-offs happening in like retention. But that's what it essentially is in like a nutshell.
It's like a 3-day webinar, and at the end of the 3-day webinar, you pitch like a high-ticket offer essentially. But they spend 3 days with you, and they spend so much time with you that you can really pitch high ticket. Yeah. So was that the main thing that got into $1 million a month, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say it was introducing. This client had run webinars in the past, and their KPIs weren't like extremely good throughout the funnel, so they weren't converting at a high clip, as high of a clip as they should have been. So they were pulling most of their revenue through literally just like Instagram organic, just setting people onto calls and then closing them over the phone, which obviously you can generate a lot of revenue with that, but it's very sales heavy. So introducing this vehicle where, we can drive multiple eyeballs at once and sell to one-to-many rather than one-to-one, all at once in a big challenge or a big webinar. It just allowed us to just multiply our efforts, warm people at scale, and then get them onto the phone, pretty much pre-sold, ready to buy, credit card in hand,
Yeah, one-to-many being webinars where you're selling to multiple people.
Exactly,
watching,
yeah. It's like rather than like setting an individual person in the DMs, setting them onto a sales call with either a setter or a closer, having them go through the process one-on-one in person, where a lot more like nurturing, education, and actual selling on the call has to happen. With the webinar, the way we construct them, like we're essentially overcoming all of their objections, educating them on the opportunity, and getting them pre-sold and excited at scale, because you can get, thousands of people in a webinar room, theoretically, if you have enough traffic,
100%,
and then you can just get them on a call, or you can sell them, as I mentioned, a course on the webinar and then send them later.
So if someone's like a coach or selling a course and they're just getting started, or they're, say, sub 50K a month, would you recommend them one-to-one setting or one-to-many at the beginning?
Would you say like 50K a month?
Like sub 50K a month, so below.
Sub 50K a month.
Yeah. Because that's probably most people watching this video are probably in that situation where they're like weaseling like around below 50K a month, and they're trying to figure out. I mean, there's so many options with funnels, so many options with different marketing strategies you can do to scale. You guys know because you guys done it. So what do you think?
I would say like if you're hovering between like 30 to 50K a month.
Yeah.
You can definitely go one-to-many because you have proof of concept, you're getting cash collected, and you have a good offer most likely, and then you just need either more traffic or better conversion mechanism to scale. So webinars can make sense. I will say though, like if you've never run webinars before, it's a pretty complex funnel that has a lot of moving pieces that if you drop the ball on one of those moving pieces, it's not going to be nearly as effective as something more simple. But in short, yes, I would recommend it, but you just need the right team to essentially do it for you.
It's like everything's built around just like it's not just like presenting the webinar. You have the pre-process, the actual on the process, the post-process, like everything in place. You've got to have that.
Absolutely. Like the webinar is huge. Obviously, the conversion mechanism of the actual live presentation or the challenge or whatever is huge, but like getting people to register for it, getting people to show up. Those are two huge KPIs that if you don't get anybody in the room, you can have the best sales presentation in the world, but you're not going to convert anybody because you don't have anyone there. You know what I mean?
Do you build the sales presentation or do clients too?
We build the entire. We build every single moving piece from the funnel. A lot of times the ads if we're running traffic, the actual webinar, the emails, like every single marketing asset essentially in the entire funnel we handle.
And that's why I guess like you were saying earlier, there's like zero to hero story is so important, because that in the webinar is like a whole transformation, gets people inspired to actually buy.
I'd say like the zero to hero story is really important for a couple reasons. Like one, it makes you relatable to your audience. Like if you were just like born into money or whatever and you're just like already at this level, like for example in the biz op market, or if like say you're like a fitness guy and you were never out of shape and you just had a six-pack abs your whole life or whatever, it's not going to be as relatable to the people you're actually selling to. So that's one thing. And then, stories are one of the best ways to actually overcome objections, like indirectly. You can tell a story in a way that allows you to overcome a lot of the, limitations and limiting beliefs that someone may have, because you can explain how you had those same limiting beliefs and then you overcame them. It's a really good mechanism for just like selling in general.
And to go back from that, so say that same person watching, would you recommend them dive into paid right away from your guys' perspective? I have my own ideas on it, but from your guys' perspective, if someone's like just kind of starting out, would you recommend building the brand, the personal brand, going down that route, or paid, or both?
So where are they at? They have an offer? Are they actually selling stuff?
They have an offer, they have a transformation, and they're kind of just getting it kick-started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say I have mixed opinions on it. I think that it is smart to build like a foundation of organic and like an audience that you can, nurture and sell to organically, like at least to a certain extent, because then you have a cushion to figure out paid traffic. Because paid traffic, unless you're working with like an expert like you who runs, millions of dollars in spend, it can be relatively tough to crack. Right. So if you build up that cushion of like an organic audience and you can get revenue in to kind of fund that learning process, or you can just bring on an agency or fund the agency to, you know, diversify into paid, I would recommend it. But yeah, I genuinely think that like everyone needs to, you know, go to paid traffic at some point.
Right. But when they're just starting, you would recommend starting to build a brand. It's a little bit slower, but
I kind of have like mixed opinions on it. I think that you can go either route. Like if you really are committed to actually learning paid traffic, you can make it work
100%.
without a brand. Like you can just run paid traffic and scale if you know what you're doing.
100%.
So
or
it's
you
really
have the right team.
it's really a skill thing or a team thing. If you personally are skilled enough to run paid traffic
Yourself,
at scale profitably, by all means, it's the quickest way to scale and it's the most predictable and, you know, personally what I think is the best.
Got it. And with, for example, your biggest client, do they have a big personal brand? Like this client who scale past $1 million, like what do they do on the personal brand side of things?
Yeah, as I mentioned, like of course, as even DJ mentioned, the paid ads, it kind of complements the organic presence.
Yeah, they play into each other.
Yeah, so like meaning the better organic presence they have, the better the ads will perform. Because like essentially we of course connect the client's IG account onto the ad, then the client can check out the IG profile. So kind of, they complement each other.
Yep, got it. So this client, just to go back to the client who's, you know, got to $1 million a month, he has a big audience and you guys leverage that for the challenge, for the webinars, but then you also sprinkled in paid to get basically new eyeballs onto the organic. You basically just create this massive flywheel ecosystem, essentially. That's what I always say to like clients and everyone, is like, everything's just a flywheel. It's like content, like marketing, but then it turns into customers, then more customers, turns into more results, and it's just like a massive flywheel and it just plays into each other. And it's the same thing with like personal brands and paid ads. It's like they both complement each other essentially. Because if you have paid ad, if you have a good brand, your ads are just going to stand out due to the brand, you know. But then even your brand is going to grow from the paid ads. So you'll get new cold eyeballs, convert them into warm eyeballs.
And it's what you also mentioned in regards to like the paid ads, right? It's like when you run like a paid ad, on most occasions they're likely to search up your name. If you search up your name and then you've got like a strong digital presence, that ad is only going to perform like.
I can say with an absolute fact, like if I look at our top clients, like our top clients and customers and commanders, like they all have some sort of brand somewhere. Maybe not on social media, like some of them have big articles, big publications, they've been on some big masterminds events, but they have something. You know, like you gotta have something, I think. Yeah, especially now. Like you can't, I mean, you can make it work with just paid, but like you said, like at that level, you gotta be a really skilled marketer.
100%. And like the sales cycle, if you, for example, if you're just running paid traffic with no brand today, with like the level of skepticism that's in the market, like obviously if you're one of the most skilled people around, you can make it work.
You make it work.
I'm not gonna say you can't, but like having that content out there, it's like a nurture mechanism. It's like someone will, like people don't just go, you know, directly from ad to VSL to piffing for 10K on a call or ad to webinar, whatever. It's like ad, what is this? Hit the landing page. I'm gonna go check out your Instagram. I'm gonna look you up on YouTube. I'm gonna watch a couple videos, and then I'm gonna come back into the funnel, maybe book a call. Like it's, you know, it all works in tandem, and that's why I would say, like I would kind of like restructure my answer. I think you can start with paid early, but build the brand while
simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
That's the biggest thing I've seen, because like what we did was we started introducing more content. We started running like content as ads. So say someone would like schedule a call, like we're hitting them with content and like emails, like pre-emails. And that, like our show went like 90% plus on paid. We're booking like 60 calls a week right now. And
wait, talk to me about that. Break that down a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people would understand that strategy. So you're saying you're running content like as paid ads. How does that work?
So like say someone schedules a call, right? What happens is they go into like a list, like an audience on Facebook, and then what I'll do is I'll hit them with like 7 to 10 pieces of content built around like what we sell, and like it's kind of a propaganda you could say, propaganda. And they watch that. I mean, it's just, they get more name association, and then at least like even when they come, I think the biggest killer with paid and what I saw, and this is when I started, was that people wouldn't even know who you were, and you were kind of getting categorized in a box, whereas people were like, oh yeah, like your customers will command, Kieran, right? Like, that was the biggest shift we had. It impacted close rate, it impacted people that showed up, it impacted like the actual, because like I always see when you're trying to take someone from cold to warm, you have like cold, you have warm, and then you have hot. And it's like your goal is simply just to turn, like, do your best as a marketer, turn someone from cold to as warm as possible, because it just has such a massive effect. Like the sales team loves it too. It's like if the sales team hops on someone and it's like, I watched like a 60-minute video like this, for example. It's like, I love your stuff. Like this could even go into a process, and like they watch this, and it just builds like this warmer nature towards your business.
So essentially, you're engineering a customer journey that as soon as a prospect comes into your ecosystem, whether it's through cold or organic, you're able to then engineer a customer journey that is like overcoming objections, warming you up, educating them, and then like, pre-framing them for the sales call.
Educating and overcoming objections, because for example, there's so many people through paid I've booked a call with, right? And then what happened was I didn't show the call because they didn't send me anything. I was pretty skeptical, but I liked the idea from the marketing of what they had, but you have to be able to convert that marketing to actual like belief and conviction ideally before you even come to the sales call. Obviously don't tell your sales reps that, but like if you can have like say emails in place, like I don't know, 10, 15 emails that you send them, just slamming value, I hate to use that term, but like really just overcoming objections that they're gonna have, that's gonna help a ton. Like seeing your content on the feed is gonna help a ton. Like all this stuff just plays up to where they see you enough times, by the time they get to the call, they already know a good amount about you. And your sales team loves it, you're gonna close more deals, you're gonna scale. So that's what we mean, by the way, when we say like, put organic together with paid. That is like the golden combo, and it doesn't actually matter what funnel you're running, it's the same like principle. Yeah.
For sure. And like one thing as well, that can be applicable to, of course, what we're doing right now with our conversion mechanisms. Like for example, like even on the opt-in page, with like a YouTube video, or even like, of course, we mentioned about that big bottleneck of bringing people inside the library, right?
Right.
We can do the similar principle to get people inside the library.
Yeah.
So opt-in to a client's webinar, how does that series look like? What objections are we overcoming? Do we link them to like YouTube videos, etc.? So it's like as you said, like a flywheel effect. When you put the organic content, it also allows you to have more assets for the webinar funnel, the challenge funnel, the logic funnel as well. So yeah, like
I've also seen, man, like there's something to be said for like with paid. It's just it really compounds over time, because the first month, like you're building that momentum, and like now we have such momentum with paid. Like the brand is just building itself through us running ads. It's like people just, oh, you're like the customer command guys. You see your ads all the time. It's like it's just stacked, and that's why I always say to clients, it's oftentimes about how long you're in the game, because like just running ads for like literally running ads for like a year, you beat like 99% of people just because they're like want the direct ROI, ROAS, etc., which is cool. And obviously as a business, you got to make money, no doubt about it. But like a lot of this stuff really compounds with the brands and with the paid, and that seems like what you guys do for your clients too. It's like that you help with that process essentially.
Yeah, bro, DJ, maybe like you could walk them over, they'll get benefit from this. It's like about the low ticket funnel we're doing and how we were kind of in like testing phase, trying to come up with these optimizations, and finally we were able to like kind of crack the code and of course now see these conversions for like a 10K ticket size. Like how was that testing process for us? Because I know that you made like a lot of changes to the funnel itself as well as on the front end.
What is a low ticket funnel, by the way? Just because I know people are going to watch this and they're like, what? Like all these marketing nerds, like what are they talking about?
Right.
You know?
Right. So let me try to explain this. So we kind of went over webinar funnels. Essentially, all funnels, like what a funnel is just a conversion mechanism. It's a sales funnel to, generate or to take a cold customer to a warm lead, essentially, and then to convert that lead into a sale. And that's all any funnel is. There's different funnel structures, different architectures that you can use. And a low ticket funnel is essentially just offering a low ticket, essentially like a tripwire offer on the front end that's, there's various price points you can test, but low ticket is essentially like anything under $100. You're offering that front end offer with a series of order bumps to boost AOV, of course. Yeah. And then you can have like upsells on the back end. But with this funnel in particular, we're just running front end. We have 2 order bumps, and then instead of OTO 1, it's just essentially offering.
What's an OTO, by the way?
One-time upsell. Apologies. One-time upsell. So instead of just the traditional funnel architecture, which is like front end offer, upsell 1, upsell 2, book a call. It's just we're just trying to drive as many people to the phone for our high ticket because it's a really good offer. So the funnel architecture is literally, add, low ticket front end, 2 order bumps, and then OTO 1 is just essentially a free onboarding call that we're offering to all buyers to get on the phone with our sales reps, give them some value, and then convert them on the high ticket.
It's all economics, man. It's like 100%. The low ticket is just you're spending money on ads, you have a certain CPA, and I guess the low ticket is just liquidating that amount. So then by the time they even come to the high ticket, you've already liquidated a lot of your spend, or maybe all of your spend by the time they even potentially close on a high ticket offer.
Exactly. And then another big benefit of like a low ticket funnel is like in my mind, some of the most powerful marketing is just demonstration of the product. Like, for example, if you've ever seen, you know, like an infomercial where they're like, it's like selling a knife set or something, and they're chopping the craziest stuff. Like, that's like the best marketing because it's demonstration of how the product works, what it is, et cetera, giving actual value that someone, you know, can see like, hey, the product works. And that's like the value of a low ticket funnel. Like you can get someone in for, you know, a low ticket product that may be priced extremely low, but can be extremely valuable. And then they're actually, you know, they've paid money, they're going to pay attention, they're actually going to consume not only the sales process that you're putting them through, but also the content of like, you know, what this offer is about. It's educating them, getting them excited, and nurturing them in a way. And then if you have like a dialed ascension process, you can get them on the phone. They're much more warm. And as you mentioned, like with this funnel architecture, we're liquidating only like 50 to 60% of the spend because we don't have upsells on the back end, on the front end. But, you know, we're getting calls booked for, you know, $100, but we're liquidating half of that on the front end. So it's super profitable, especially with a 10K back end offer.
I think the most ideal low ticket is where you take something that's usually like thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars and you do it for like $10.
Literally.
That's what we've done for like this client. Like on the front end, the offer is like so damn irresistible that it's
literally
like thousands of dollars of like value for like such a low price.
It's like in this offer specifically, like we're essentially just giving away all of the information and then we're just selling the implementation on the back end. So it's like everything you theoretically need to succeed, but most people obviously are not going to consume the information and then actually implement. That's like just the nature of the game. So it's like, here's everything you need to succeed. You know, if you want to not run into all of these problems, issues, and struggles that I've ran into, you know, I can hold your hand through it. And that's essentially the sales process.
Where do you guys see the market going? You've been in the game for a few years now. Where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
Like from a marketing perspective?
Selling online information, coaching, any of that stuff.
I think we're at like the accountability phase of the market. It's like there's super high skepticism. There's a lot of stigma around like people who sell coaching courses, etc. online. So like just simply due to the fact of all that skepticism, there's, you know, it's harder to sell people because they're just inherently don't trust you. So I think a lot of it just is actually genuinely just going to come down to like client results and like longevity in your business. Like if you are someone, you see it all the time, like someone launches a different offer every year, they drive in thousands of customers into their business, they get little to no results for those people, you know, and then they just fall off the face of the earth and then they have to offer something new, and that's just kind of like how it goes. And I think those people are gonna, you know, die out. The grifters, the grifters, the info grifters. So I think it's, you know, one, you have to become a better marketer and implement things like what we're talking about, like propaganda and like, you know, extensive nurture systems, like better sales processes, better conversion mechanisms, just better marketing overall to be able to actually convert the customer, you know, in the first place. And then I think you need like a deep back end to be able to like, you know, withstand the rising ad costs, et cetera. And then I think you just need incredible client results. I also think you should sell based off like some sort of mean, like like not a trend. Like there's a lot of people, I mean, you guys know, you work with a lot of people who sell business opportunities, but they're very like, very short term. But for, I think one of your biggest clients, right, is like they help people buy businesses. I mean, that's just a principle that will never change. Like people will always want to buy businesses. You know? And those are the clients that we specifically go for. Like we don't want, like, you know, there's like static markets and then there's dynamic markets. And a dynamic market is a market where, you know, it's a trend. It's like, hey, make money with TikTok or make money with Instagram or something, or, you know, a Facebook ads course. And then like those principles change. So it's like it's a quick cash grab. It's like a crypto offer or something. It's like, hey, there's a trend in the market. I'm going to monetize that by selling a course, teaching you how to like, you know, do that trend. And then in, you know, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, what you teach is no longer valid. And then, you know, it's a dynamic market, as I said. So it's a kind of like, you know, becomes irrelevant. But if you're in a static market, like for example, selling to sophisticated customers, like we're selling to, you know, corporate people who are already making six figures, like are older, are like, you know, more intelligent, and want to go and, you know, create financial freedom through like one of the most proven routes to do that, which is like buying businesses. So, you know, it's just more high IQ, frankly.
I think that's the trap that a lot, like they fall into like saying to low IQ customers and that stuff, like it's such a trend, like the business will do well and then it's going to drop off and there's no longevity.
It's harder to get client results.
100%.
And I think that's a big thing for longevity, obviously.
100%. And it's just like again, it goes back to like selling a dynamic market. It's like that has like a 2-year lifespan maximum. I mean, I see it so many times now in the market. It's like most of the market's just selling dynamic, and they'll be gone in 2 years, 3 years. But I think if you can get as close to static as possible, Like that's ideal. I mean, even with customers on command, like the way the implementation, what we do, sure, it's dynamic, but the idea and the principle never changes. Like people selling online information are always going to want customers. Never changes.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're able, if you're in a dynamic market, but you can evolve. Like for example, the service you provide, the mechanism that you're using now to get client results may change, but the principles of like marketing, direct response, like sales, etc., will never change, and you're always going to adapt with that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, your every single one of your biggest clients, you'd say, are in static markets most of the time, or is there some?
A few of them are kind of in dynamic markets, but what we kind of do to, of course, allow us to like adapt to that is appeal to like a more sophisticated ICP. Because what we notice as well, like when we're kind of in like these dynamic markets, right? As you mentioned, you're targeting like a less competent customer.
Yeah.
And for them, you kind of need to enter grifter mode.
Yeah.
You know? But
Grifter
with
mode.
like, other clients who target like sophisticated customers, what we notice is what I mentioned earlier about them 3 buckets. Front end conversion mechanism as well as the back end, that process becomes so much easier. Even with like the sales systems, right? If you target a sophisticated customer who understands the vehicle, they got money to invest, and they're actually not like they're competent in their thing, they're gonna make the conversion like a lot easier. But like incompetent customers, like you need to, of course, do crazy things, revolutionary things to get them over edge.
Yeah, it's a short-lived game. It's really hard to scale. So I really wanted to walk through like 5 steps, because you guys obviously are marketers, and anyone watching this probably isn't a marketer. They're trying to maybe they are, like some people watching this are marketers, but a lot of them, they're not, but they're selling information, and they're just like, okay, what are the steps I should take? So I think to go back to what we were talking about earlier, say you have POC, so proof of concept, with some sort of product or service online, what are the steps you then take? Like you talk about traffic, you talk about conversions, that's a lot for someone. In order, like what do you do?
That's a good question. When someone has like an offer established, the next thing, what do you believe it actually comes down to? It's like a consistent conversion mechanism.
Well, I think for like us, we work with people who typically already have a sales process. Okay. So like our specialty is like coming in and then like improving a business that's already off the ground, has wings, is flying, and then we're optimizing things in the marketing, the sales process, etc. So, but your original question was like, how do you get like,
how do you even get to that point?
Okay. How do you get to that point?
Like, say someone here is like, I want to become one of your clients. What do they need? Like, what are the things they need and they should do to get to the point where they can be a client of yours? So
we typically only work with like 100K a month plus businesses, like 7-figure business owners. A couple reasons, like they're just more competent. It's easier for us to work with them. Get results. They understand like how most of these things work. It's hard for us to come into a complete beginner's business who doesn't even have a business and then like build them a business. Essentially, it's doable. It's just a lot more work. It's more like hand holding of the client, educating, etc. But if someone's at complete zero and then they wanted to become one of our clients, I'd say the steps are like, you obviously have to have some form of like deep expertise in some, whether you're a personal performance coach or a nutritionist, or you have some sort of a business that's like, if you're in the make money online niche, you have some sort of business that you're super successful at. You're not like, you made your first $10,000 a month and now you want to teach it. No, like you've most likely made millions of dollars. Done it at a high level. So you have some form of deep expertise. And then obviously like the first step is essentially like eyeballs. So you probably need an audience, or you need, like I said, us to run traffic for you. But typically we would want to work with someone who has an audience, because as we mentioned, it's adding fuel to the fire. It's a nurture mechanism. People know, like, trust you, etc. So I'd say second step is building that audience, surrounding your expertise. Like you can't just build a random audience of just people online because you post like, crazy stuff. Like that's not going to work. But like a specific audience surrounding that expertise. And then, the next step from there is essentially like figuring out your offer. And I think a good way to go about that, if you're going from 0 to 1, is to just sell one-on-one coaching. Like, you don't want to go straight to selling a course. Like that's the dumbest thing you could ever do, because, typically you're not going to get good client results. You can't just build something. You have to sell before you build. Like that's a key principle.
And the best feedback is sales.
The best, you build your product through selling customers and then figuring out what they actually need, not what they even want, because sometimes people don't even know what they want. But you sell customers and then you try to get them results, and then through that process, that's how you build your product. Yeah, that's what's what I want to hit on, because I've seen so many people that they'll spend like a year building out the product and then sell it to the market. I've had clients like that who like dedicated like a year to building the product.
before they really truly understood
Right.
who their customer is. And the way you do that is sales.
Right.
So you would sell before you build.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
You just figure out who your market is.
Yeah.
This is this person, and then you sell them, work with them, and then the product kind of will create itself.
Exactly. Like you always start with the market. Like you want to go into a big market, a starving market.
Yeah.
You know, a big group of people who you think you can help. You want to sell to those people. You want to get them in on one-on-one, ideally. One, because you can charge, you know, higher prices, high ticket, ideally, and then you can actually make more money with less clients and actually have a profitable business with like, you know, 3 to 5 to 7 clients without having to just sell hundreds of people. And then, you know, you coach those people, you get them results, you get actual case studies, you build your product through, you know, feedback from the market, and then, and even then, I wouldn't go straight to like selling a course. So like I would go from 1-to-1. Then once you have so much demand that you literally can't take on any more 1-to-1 people, and you are building up an audience and you have enough traffic and you kind of have an offer that, you know, people want, then you can, you know, diversify into like group coaching, and then eventually once, you know, you're at scale, you can sell courses.
Yeah, nice. Start groups and courses.
Yeah, right.
How do you?
Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, please.
Actually, one comment on, of course, the selling before, the selling before
Sell before build. Yeah.
This is, of course, because like action is the best feedback loop as well. It's like when you're actively working with, like, let's say, coaching clients, etc. You actually discover what they truly want, and like you can dig deep into their pains, and it's like, bro, it's like a great feedback loop, you know, because like you can actually send these people like surveys, like let's say 30 to 60 days after, like, getting deep on how was the practices, what needs improving, what would you include to do things differently, and then that's like for sure like the best mechanism.
And it's incredible marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like a social proof connection.
It's the best marketing ever.
Yeah, and people's like so rigid like with their offer. Like I've seen that like with offers, they just get so like rigid. I'm like, it does not matter like what you think. It literally matters what your market needs.
100%.
That's it.
1,000%.
Like, and it's like I think that is the single. There's one thing to take away from this video. Like the single biggest difference is just that you have to sell exactly to what the market wants to know, especially if you're selling information and coaching. It's like that's
it's not
like
tangible. It's something that has to be like truly what people need.
The only way you know that is by talking to them. You can't assume, you know.
And I think that's like a big problem, because people like these, you know, CEOs who end up doing this, they may have a deep expertise in a certain domain. They're super passionate about that. So then they want to build something for themselves and not the market. So then they build that prior to even selling any customers, and then they take it to market and it flops.
It flops, and then they get attached to it, and then they just end up in this cycle of selling something that people don't want.
Like I think to, of course, sell like a good information product, like you essentially need to mold yourself into your prospect.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like essentially become them. Like what their day looks like, what their dream outcomes are, like frustrations, pains are, and just like essentially become them.
So you guys were talking about low ticket funnels earlier, right? We were going to get into the specifics of that. We didn't get into it. Like, can you guys dive into? You scaled one, a low ticket funnel, pure cold, like just straight cold traffic. Let's walk through that. Let's see, like, how did that even work?
Did you walk over the philosophy? Because of course it took some time to kind of crack the code, right? Like we had like a few optimizations to the funnel, the sales systems, of course like the front end creatives. But what changes did we make from like creative, the funnel, and then the sales systems to of course bring us cash flow as positive on the funnel?
Yeah, so I think like an important thing to know is just if you're gonna launch the paid traffic, it's not like you're just gonna record your first ad, set up a funnel, you know, start, you know, giving Meta money and then just making money profit. Like it's just not gonna happen. Like you have to, a lot of times you're gonna have to do multiple iterations of the funnel, dial in the messaging, especially with a brand new offer. So like we were speaking 0 to 1, and we actually took a customer from 0, like no offer. It was somewhat of an offer, but you know, had never scaled before, let alone, had never scaled before on organic, let alone paid. We took it to paid, this low ticket funnel. It took us about 30 to 45 days to actually get cash ROAS positive, not like revenue ROAS positive, not blended ROAS, like strictly paid traffic. And yeah, talking about some of the optimizations we made. Obviously, you know, first iteration of the funnel, we launched some ads to a low ticket funnel. As I mentioned, the architecture was, you know, low ticket product, 2 order bumps, you know, Ascension VSL to get someone on the phone with the sales rep. And some bottlenecks we were seeing was, 1, conversion rate on the front end. So we have a 2-step order form. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, essentially it's like if you hit a page, you know, you put in your information and then you're taken to an order form where you can actually put in your payment information. Right. So we were getting people that had high curiosity but low intent. So they would hit the page they were curious about it. They would enter their information and then they would bounce, so they weren't converting. So, you know, they saw our ad, they were like, this is interesting, and then they didn't have enough intent to actually convert.
They were the last step, pretty much.
Exactly.
But,
So we found like we had a high opt-in rate but a low conversion rate.
Yeah.
So the first optimization we needed to make was actually getting conversions on the low ticket product. So things we had to do there was test more ads like on the front end to, you know, boost click-through rate, get more traffic to the page.
Yeah.
And then we had to actually make a ton of optimizations to the funnel. We had to. It's a very niche offer with a small TAM. So a lot
what
of
was the kind of niche like?
It's actually like buying businesses, but it's buying a specific kind of business. So it's not.
Got it, okay.
It's not, you know, buying any kind of business like a laundromat, an accounting firm, a car wash, etc. It's specifically accounting firms. So it's a very small TAM of people who are going to see an ad on cold traffic, you know, not know who you are, and be like, dang, I just inherently want to buy an accounting firm. Like, it's a very small market. So we had to figure out how to create messaging on the front end that wasn't specifically talking about that opportunity, but enticing them with the idea of business acquisition and how it's a good vehicle for creating wealth. And then we had to educate on the actual landing page through the VSL, through the copy on the page about why accounting firms specifically are such a good opportunity. So that was one major change that we made, was adding that education and kind of invalidating like any other boring business, because that's kind of like the niche. And once we did that, we started seeing a bunch of conversions. And then that's only one step. It's like you're getting people through the door on the front end. And then it's like, okay, our primary goal here is we're not going to make profit. As I mentioned, we're actually at a loss on the front end. So it's all about getting people to buy the high ticket. So at that point, you know, we were getting buyers through the door. We were booking a call here and there, but like the Ascension system wasn't dialed and we weren't getting people to the phone.
Yeah.
So the next step was we brought in a setter to call every single, both opt-in and buyer, like ideally within 3 to 5 minutes. It's not always going to be that quickly, but speed to lead's a big thing. We brought in a setter, so they were calling all people who had opted in but didn't buy, so that's essentially a lead, and then calling all buyers like as quickly as possible, and then offering this free onboarding call. So that was a big thing. We started booking calls super consistently at a good cost per call within our KPI.
Yeah.
And now the last step that we're trying to essentially, like the last bottleneck that we have is basically close rate. Like our show rate's pretty good. It's around 70% on cold traffic. And now it's just, we just brought in a closer this week. And yeah, but as I mentioned, like we're positive cash ROAS with a pretty low close rate.
Really?
Could be lower.
Extreme, way too low. Yeah.
So what's like a customer acquisition cost on that front end offer?
Yeah. So we're getting customers on that front end for about $70 to $80. Our AOV is $62. So on our best performing creatives, it's about 70 to 80. We're still in the creative testing, so we're spending more. So like our actual overall cost to acquire a low ticket buyer is around $100. So as I mentioned, we're liquidating about 60%.
Solid. And then you have like the back end coaching. Like what kind of price point is that?
Exactly, it's 10K. So it's like we literally are able to get we can spend quite a lot. Like we have a bunch of room. In that. If we're able to piff for 10K, we can be profitable.
I mean, that's something that a lot of people in the markets do. They'll just like sling their course or whatever it is on the front ends, and like a big part. I mean, it doesn't really matter what funnel you work, but even with your pipeline, if you're doing like a high ticket cool funnel, a low ticket, the back end, like that's where all the money's made. And it's like so much easier to sell to an existing customer, like 65% easier, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous how much easier it is.
Yeah, like our booking rate, like from lead to call versus buyer to call, it's like a completely different ballgame. Like a buyer is about, probably 100 times more valuable to you than just a lead, like your standard VSL or webinar opt-in. So that's why we love low ticket.
I remember like one of our biggest clients, he was doing webinars, but I mean, I think he would sell like a couple, like maybe 50, 60 people on the webinar on like a 1.5K offer. And 60% of those people would buy his high ticket, which is nuts.
Insane. It's insane.
And that's like where millions of dollars was made in that back end,
Yeah, it's hilarious because it's like a lot of people would be like, oh, low ticket. And then people are like, oh, that sounds so cool. I can just sell like, a $97 a month community or a low ticket product and make whatever. But it's like, you're not making money on the front end. Like it is it's a acquisition vehicle. It's a nurture vehicle. It educates people about you. It allows you to liquidate your spend, but it's not a profit vehicle.
But at what point, so like I tell many of our clients, it's like really to scale, in my opinion, it's about reducing complexity. And when you start including low ticket offers and funnels, it does realistically add complexity. For me, we start introducing that kind of stuff for clients when they are spending like a couple six figures a month, because what happens is like you have cash to conversion cycle, you have like being able to make the cash back, and if your cash to conversion cycle, say 10 days, if you're spending 100K like in a week, for example, that takes a while to come back, and there's a lot of cash to be throwing away that was going to come back over a week later. So at what point would you say that the low ticket stuff where you'll be able to liquidate ad spend and then sell makes sense? For me, it's like if you're starting out, or if you're spending like a couple 5 figures a month, it just makes sense to push all to high ticket, in my opinion, because it's just like the profit, and it's so much easier, so much more simple to scale. When would you introduce something like a low ticket?
I think
funnel?
it really depends on the offer. And like, for example, with this specific low ticket, like it's pretty low complexity. It's almost like a call funnel. Like as I mentioned, there's one conversion on the front end that's essentially almost an opt-in, and then the actual demonstration vehicle. It's not just a VSL; it's actually a product. So it's pretty low complexity the way that we're running it with this funnel architecture. I wouldn't recommend this to everybody, but we took this we built the offer, we built all the messaging, we built all the marketing collateral, and the first vehicle we took was paid and a low ticket funnel, which is like, I wouldn't recommend that. If you're just going, if you're just going to go and build your first business or your first offer, I would not recommend that. But for us, it made sense for a couple reasons. One, due to the complexity of the offer, like we felt like there needed to be a lot of education and like overcoming, limiting beliefs, etc. Like for example, like just an obvious objection of like, hey, would I ever buy an accounting firm? I'm not an accountant. You know what I mean? It's a very like high IQ, complex opportunity. So for us, it felt like, hey, if we can introduce this opportunity through a low ticket product and then give a bunch of game in that product, and then like have people go through like a pretty, beautiful sales process essentially that educates them on the opportunity, overcomes those limiting beliefs, and explains to them, why it's actually a really good opportunity for them. It made sense. And as I mentioned, there's no upsells, so it's almost a call funnel. It really is.
So it literally is just front end and then immediately call. Wow, that's
So it's like, it's very, it's like it allows us, like I said, it's liquidating the spend, which is really cool. So it's like if our cost per call is $100, it's really like 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like that's a really cool thing about it. And then as I mentioned, it works really well with the offer that we have.
You guys have dropped a lot of gems here, and this is your first time on the video, right, DJ?
I interviewed him one time, but I was a bit nervous.
Podcast,
first time, man.
Podcast, but I believe he needed the fulfillment master.
Stop, bro.
I will drop your IGs below in this video, so if you want to go and check out these marketing rammers, then you can. And I mean, any last words you guys want?
Any last words,
anyone
my
watching
brother?
this video who's like now schizoing over the marketing genius that these guys have dropped?
One thing, arguably, maybe take a notebook out and of course, take notes and just implement. Potentially. Just take notes and just implement, and
that's a good idea.
Take action.
Take action.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the next one.